Welcome to Startup Spokane, where hosts Steve Trabun and Megan Hulsey explore the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. Startup Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's Startup Spokane, our friends at Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Megan.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, your podcast home for everything entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. As you know, Startup Spokane is a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated, and we want to provide you with our region story of entrepreneurship and educate you about the resources that exist in our ecosystem. We're here to share information with you to help you launch, grow, and be successful with your business. And today, we're going a little different. We're going to have a great philosophical conversation about the role of passion in entrepreneurship. And so, Megan, with that, how about introducing our guest?
Yeah, we're really excited to have Ed Reese with Six Man Marketing joining us today. And so what I'd like to do is first have you tell us a little bit about yourself and your own kind of experience with entrepreneurship, Ed.
Yeah, my name is Ed Reese and founded Six Man Marketing a little over 10 years ago. And we started off focusing on search and paid search, and that's evolved over time. So right now we help clients that have websites, we help them understand what's working. So that's analytics, usability, and testing to figure out how to make websites work better.
Yep. And you're no stranger to our ecosystem, Ed. I mean, you've been involved from the beginning, and you're also an adjunct professor at Gonzaga. You teach marketing, so you have a lot of exposure personally. You have your own experience with startups. You have experience with individuals who have gone down the startup journey. So, what a great topic, and we're thrilled to have you here. And I think, you know, to get things started, what I'd like to do is just display. We have a definition of passion, and we can just kind of talk about it generally. But why don't we just kind of kick off just with your kind of your perception of what passion is and how it plays in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think just from like a core component of passion, I think it's that drive to something you're just going to keep coming back to. You have to see this thing through. It gets you up in the morning. You're somewhat obsessive about it, and it drives you. So if you don't have that personal internal passion for whether it's your job, your startup, even something like your workout, like you're not going to go back to it.
Right.
So even something as simple as me not being a gym guy, I need games to stay in shape. I know that about myself. And when it comes to my business and to other startups, you can see that in other people. You can see that they're just jazzed to talk about it. They keep coming back to that same core passion they have for whatever they're working on.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I mean, we're talking about passion and how it plays into the startup realm, but passion plays in our lives in all sorts of ways, right? And Megan, you probably have something to share as well.
Yeah, the passion part of it is really important to working in entrepreneurship. I mean, it's what gets them up in the morning, and it's what gets you excited. And it also is what sells your idea to a large extent. I think really successful entrepreneurs share that passion, and it's truly infectious. Yeah. And that's what makes you want to dive in and help and be a part of whatever it is they're creating.
Yeah. There's even going back to some of my students in class, so they're all required to have a real world project. They have to build a website, they have to have a product of service that exists in reality, perform analytics, paid campaigns, all the things. And I had a student a few years ago who built a t-shirt company, and it was based on the logo of Steve Prefontaine. It was his hand-drawn version of Prefontaine with a mustache. And he would just stamp, shorts and shirts, and he started selling them. He sold close to $7,000 worth of shirts in a month.
Wow!
And he was like, "Professor, I'm freaked out, man. I don't know what to do. I'm having problems." I'm like, "Well, no, you don't have a marketing or a company problem. You have a logistics issue.
Right.
You have an operations issue." But he was like so excited. He was like, it was distracting from his courses.
Yeah.
And he was like so into it. In building this brand, it just took over everything. And it's no shock that he's now on the brand team at Adidas. Right?
Yeah,
so
doing some
in a
great
very
things.
short order, he had his own brand, was way into running on a national basis, and that led to his continued passion for running and the products around it, and he's on the core product team at Adidas.
Yeah,
now.
it's amazing.
You can see that line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so maybe
absolutely.
contrast that with, I mean, you've got these students, they have to do these projects. Some of them probably come up with ideas that they don't have passion for.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I think it's just interesting if
Yeah.
maybe you contrast that first example with one of, hey, this student came up with an idea, didn't have passion. What did that look like?
So I've gone back and forth, and this is essentially testing on my part on what works. So I've had it where I have them create their own ideas, and I've had it where they've worked with companies. And a lot of times, they're going to Gonzaga. It's a private institution. Their parents oftentimes pay for it. A lot of times I'll see students have their projects around what they think their parents would want them to do or companies they'd want them to work for. And you can just see that it tends to be kind of a slog. Like they're just kind of trudging through this work where people that just have, maybe it's just a random idea, but they're way into it.
Yep.
I had a student last fall I taught at Whitworth, and she was way into stickers. Like, the stickers on her folder, on her jacket, on everything. She's way into personalized stickers. She created a customized, you'd basically make your own persona out of a sticker. Like, she would do a drawing, make that into a sticker, and then sell it. She made it into a legit business. Like, she created it in class. The website was awesome. The idea was great. And she started selling, and she's still selling them to this day for like $5 per customized sticker.
And again, in that example, this is something this person had a lot of interest in, a hobby in, right? And that's really where passion kind of is derived, right? I mean, and those things change over your lifetime. I tell students all the time, follow things that you have interest in or passion for, and also know that throughout your life, you're going to have changes in what you're interested and passionate about, right? I mean, I started a winery in 2006. It was passion-led. It was effortless, even though when I look back, it was a lot of work. The passion gets you through the challenges and the obstacles. It gets you through a lot of things, right?
There's a lot of troughs. You're going to hit those troughs, and if it's not something that you're going to wake up with and want to go through, if you view it as a slog rather than just your journey, it typically is a different outcome.
Yeah.
So I think I really misunderstood, because I've heard the whole passion thing for a while. Like, you've got to be passionate about your job, about your startup, about your everything.
Is it cliche?
I think that the way I used to think about it, it was cliche. I thought it was like a checkbox thing.
Okay.
But my personal definition of it now is really, it can be defined as if it's something that you keep coming back to and it continues to drive you. Right. I was telling, we were talking about this before the show. I just signed up for an advanced analytic course from a guy named Paul in the Netherlands. I don't need to sign up for an advanced analytics course. He just happens to be the best technical analytics trainer in the world, and he has a new course. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to be part of his little mastermind group. How cool is that?
Right.
And I have to, right now I'm learning how to get through a very thick Dutch accent and learn analytics, right? But I want to do that.
Yeah, there's something underlying that's driving you,
yeah.
right?
No one's saying, hey, you have to learn from this guy in the Netherlands. I'm like, no, I want to learn from the best. I'm going to keep going back to the well to learn from these other people because I personally dig it.
Yeah.
And if you don't personally dig it, eventually it's just going to be too hard.
Yeah, that's what we find with the entrepreneurs too.
Yeah.
That's when we have somebody who comes in with an idea, if they're really invested in what they're doing, they're going to work really hard.
Yeah.
Those are the companies that we see really successful through our rapid commercialization. They're the ones that show up every day and work really hard and ask really good questions and are seeking input all the time because they're being driven by that goal to see that project through.
Yeah.
And that's just exciting, and it's easy to get on board with people like that.
Yeah, and in fact, I just want to share that we have this program, Mind to Market, and when we were first creating the program, we thought we could take ideas off the shelf and attach people to those ideas and have those turn into
It had
great
like
businesses.
the attributes of a good founder or
Yeah,
whatever.
Right.
but what they were lacking, they didn't have passion for that idea. And so we made a very quick pivot. It's like, how can you be successful with an idea if you don't have someone that is passionate or obsessed, kind of to use your word, right? I mean, they have to want.
I think it has to border on obsession.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's, as these founders are growing team members, I mean, they need to be hiring people that also have passion and interest in the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So
drinking the Kool-Aid,
yeah, it's a big part of it. So what some other experiences from your classroom maybe around
yeah, there's
this?
one right now. So one of my students of most recent course, Adam, he has a project that he's still working on around making children's books. So built the website from scratch, and he wanted kind of a choose your own adventure but online kind of a thing. And he's still working on that project. So he finished it. He did great in the course. He doesn't have to keep going.
Right.
But he's on LinkedIn looking for partners. He's still producing the project. He's still doing the work and figuring out how to make that happen. Like, he's not making any money on it.
Yeah.
He's not going to get a shiny star on the fridge for continuing to do this. He's graduated.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's doing it anyway. And I just got an email from him about collaborating with some other folks. Like, he's trying to figure out, equity and who does what and the logistics of like his new venture. So I'm just like kind of like giving him, some nudges along the way, but like, he's doing the work.
Yeah, and it's interesting. In these examples you've shared, these students, they have a I want to attitude rather than I have to. Now, some of them, we haven't spent a lot of time dwelling on it, and I don't think we should. But I mean, there are some people in in your courses that have to do a project, and they're going to get through it for the sake of getting through your class, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sort of the yin and yang of this whole topic.
And I appreciate the honesty when the students come in. Like, I always ask them on the first day why they took the course. And in every class, the classes are roughly 20 to 25 students. You have 3, 4, maybe 5 that are taking the class because they need one more marketing credit. And my class fit their schedule. And that's fine.
Yeah, and that is okay,
that's
right?
totally fine.
But look at what we're getting out of our ecosystem when we have these folks that have passionate ideas and interest. And I want us to take some time in the second half of our program to do a deeper dive, kind of philosophically, on our own opinions and experiences with passion and how that plays in our lives and in entrepreneurship. And Ed, we're thrilled to have you along with us. We hope that you'll stay with us as we go to a quick break on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online. We'll be right back.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, where we're talking to Ed Reese of Sixth Man Marketing, and we're talking a little bit about passion and entrepreneurship. And one of the things we were talking about on break was about passion and that intersection and making sure that it overlaps with some kind of need that the world has. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we talk about in the class, and we actually spent an entire class period going over it, it's called the Akagi method. So I assume it's Japanese, a Japanese business model where it has essentially a Venn diagram. It's an intersection of something I'm passionate about, something I'm good at, the world needs it, and I can make money at it. So you have these circles, and they're independent. So it's a brainstorming session, just with yourself, where you write down all the things you're passionate about. They're over here. All the things that you're good at, all the things that you can make money at, all the things that the world needs. And then you have this diagram, and where they intersect, that's like, whoa, I'm really good at this thing I'm passionate about that the world needs that I could make money at.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's fascinating when you look at it, because what happens with the students is they'll invariably have things that are really, really fun and they're passionate about, whether it's travel or soccer or whatever, that there's no way they could ever make money at.
Right.
And they have to figure out, what is that thing where there's enough overlap? Because I think of the two mistakes, I think my mistake was viewing passion as a checkbox. Like, yeah, I'm passionate. And other people are like, oh, I'm so passionate at the thing that you could never possibly do. Like, it's not rainbows and fairy tales, and it has to exist in reality in some capacity.
Yeah, it's interesting, as you mentioned this, and I love this Akage method. I think that's something that's really valuable. So thank you for sharing that with us and with our viewers. Passion can maybe get in the way of coachability sometimes, right? I mean, someone can be so obsessed with their idea and that they won't listen to what anyone says from the outside. So I just kind of throw that in. I mean, I've run into people in my career. I even self-reflect on myself. Sometimes I can be so passionate that I'm right. Yeah. No matter what anybody tells me, I'll just say that. No, the other Steve, my twin brother. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of elements kind of around passion that can be positive, but it's not always positive. In that exact example, because I've come across that too, I don't want to kill that passion, but at the time they're uncoachable. I've just said, hey, you know what? Go do your thing. Talk to me in 6 months. Yeah, come back.
Talk in a year, and let me know what you figured out.
Yeah, I guess
that's the strategy we use a lot of startup too. Yeah.
My point is that my advice would be, don't let passion override all the other advice, counsel that you might actually be able to get from others, right?
And I think it's a balance too, though, because there's going to be the naysayers, the people who are like, oh, that's a terrible idea, and I mean, who thought Airbnb was a good idea when it started? I mean, what, you're going to let some stranger sleep in your house? That's crazy, right? So I think that you have to moderate that, but we'd be willing to take some of that advice and figure out what the logical steps are and do some value testing. But I think that's one of the challenges we face a lot.
Yeah, so let's use your Akage method and talk about a couple of real-life examples here in Spokane in our ecosystem that I know we've talked about. And let's start with Beard Brand, and I'll let you tell the story. But if you would, Ed, let's kind of check the boxes on all four of those elements of the Akage method.
Yeah. So Eric Bandholtz, he was in financial services, and he wanted to leave. He was doing design and working for, I forgot which firm, but one of the big five financial investment firms. And he went to a beard competition and wanted to create this company that supported urban beardsmen. And everyone told him he was crazy, myself included. But he was like, no, bearded men are discriminated against. I want to be their advocate. There are products around this. This is going to work. And I was like, well, I don't see it. And no one really saw it. And he just kept doing it. So led with passion and community, and built that before there was a product. And I remember he was only doing, I don't remember what it was, a few hundred a month, maybe a few thousand a month, and he wanted to hire us. And I said, well, let me know when you're at $20K a month, because then it would make sense as a percentage of revenue.
Right, to be able to afford you.
6 months later, he was like, yeah, so we can afford you now. I'm like, holy crap, really? Like, yeah. And then they've gone gangbusters from there. But that passion and community and support, like we would push things that would help sell, and he was so guarded. He's like, no, we need to have this be real. We need to have the community. We need it. I don't want it to be salesy. Let's take the time it takes to do this. Right. So to this day, I was just chatting with on LinkedIn with him yesterday, and he still has that.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if anyone other than his, immediate friends or people in that community gave it much of a chance. It didn't matter. He was going to do it anyway.
Yep.
And I think a big part of the passion is these people are going to do it anyway.
Yes.
They're going to do the thing, and they would like it to be successful,
Right.
but they're going to do it.
But in this case, I mean, he had the passion. He was filling a need.
Yeah, he was.
You introduced another thing called community. He built a really strong
Absolutely.
community around men with facial hair. God only knows why men do that. But anyway, I'm just kidding. And he's monetizing. He's
monetizing.
Yeah.
So he found out the world did need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The world did need it, and he actually changed culture so that men can have full beard, be considered professional, and he absolutely is part of that cultural shift, and figured out a way to carve a niche so that he and his staff could make money as well.
And it's not just a no shave November thing.
No,
right?
It's a long term deal.
No, that's good. That's a great example. Let's talk about Spiceologist and Pete Taylor.
Yeah, I think for Beard Brand, I don't know in terms of the ups and downs of the struggles. I think with Beard Brand, it was kind of under the radar for a while, and it kind of did this thing. With Spiceologists, they had a lot of ups and downs. Like their struggles were real, and really some challenging times. Especially they have inventory, like a lot more inventory and production facilities and higher startup costs. And they just kept coming back to it.
So passion and perseverance.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think there could have been any number of times where Heather could have just hung it up. But they didn't. And I think if you have that passion and perseverance, you do keep coming back to it. And I think, what's the startup stat you guys would know? The average startup to have an exit or some sort of event, isn't it like 10, 12 years, something like that?
I mean, in terms of life cycle, it's a long road, right?
So Avalara just went public. They're a tax company out of Seattle. So I think they have a few thousand employees now. My old VP, he wanted me to be at the company. Okay, I would have been the 5th employee. Right, they just went public. I would have been the only marketing person at the time. They flew me to Florida. This was 12 years ago. I just can't get fired up about taxes.
Yeah,
like it's an online tax platform, and I told them I just can't get behind it.
Yep.
Now, in hindsight, had I stuck it out, I would have been the 5th employee, 6th employee, whatever it was, at a company that's now public and is trading at like $46 a share or whatever it is. But it would have been 12 years of something that I don't care about.
Right.
So it was actually the right choice. I don't regret it for a second because I don't get fired up by tax law and tax solutions. Like it's not my thing.
No, I think that's.
And for those that it is, great. It's just not mine.
Yeah. And see, in your case, you made the right decision.
For me.
And for me, I can go all the way back to college, and I picked computer science as the area of study. Did I pick it because of passion? No, I picked it because that's where the jobs were, and I struggled with it. I struggled with it during college, and I was counseled to get out of it, and I said no because this is where the money's at. I got a job in it. I worked for 25 years of my career in it. Did I really have passion for any of that? No, I didn't. That's what I've learned. Now, it built a great foundation of experience for me, and I think has positioned me for other great things in my career. But when I look back on following interest and passion, my path could have been much different. I have no regrets, by the way, but it's just a different story, right?
Yeah. And I've been through that path too, where you start your own business, and it's hard every day to get up and be the only person who is doing what you're doing every day. And if you don't have passion for it, it's hard to stay in it. And that's one of the things I love about my job today is that not only do I get to do what I'm passionate about, I get to work with other people who are passionate about what they're doing every day. And that just kind of feeds on it. So
passion breeds passion.
I still remember the very first time that I knew what analytics was. It was 2001, and the VP of marketing had said her blessed white papers were outperforming these video training tutorials I did for engineers for Checkpoint Software, and I didn't believe her. And I bribed our IT team with some whiskey to figure out whose was actually performing, because it was before Google was available. Google didn't become publicly available till 2005, 2006. Mine outperformed 3-1. I'm like, ha, outperforming. And she was like, okay, great. Well, now you're creating these reports all the time. I'm like, oh. But that was the beginning. And then a few years later, analytics became publicly available. All these tools for usability, search, analytics were available without a huge budget. I'm like, oh man, I have so much cool stuff that I can have access to.
So in the last 2 minutes of our program, if you had just a couple of words of wisdom for our startup community around passion and perseverance and all the things we've talked about, just what are some final thoughts that you might have? Any of you, us?
I don't know. I think just a self-check, just to be self-aware enough to know, to ask yourself if you're in the thing for your reasons. Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it? Because if you're doing it for someone else, whether it's parents or peers or whatever, the odds are against you. And for this very reason of passion, where if you're not gonna keep getting up in the morning for that thing, if it doesn't get you fired up, one day you're not gonna come back to it.
Right.
One of those tough days will be your last day.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say that back to interests and passions can change throughout your life. Be aware of that. And I kind of use the slug bug, this having acute awareness of things around you. New hobbies breed new ideas. Those ideas kind of checking against, can you solve a pain? Is there a problem that the world has for that? So so I just think that be aware that throughout your life things change, interests change, and take advantage of it. But always do what you're passionate about.
And my thought on that is, once you find that thing, don't let somebody else throw you off your game. Find a way to pursue it, no matter what roadblocks they try to put in your way. And I think that's kind of the story for a lot of our entrepreneurs. But that's all the time we have today, unfortunately. So thanks for joining us at Startup Spokane Radio on Spokane Talks Online. And thanks to Ed Reese for sharing with us your experience and your journey. And join us next time for a future pod and broadcast where we'll be talking about entrepreneurship in our region. So talk to you next time at Startup Spokane and Spokane Talks Online.
See you next time.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane, Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.